But when you're ready, we can go.
We can go.
Okay,
I'm
I've
ready.
actually started recording a few minutes ago.
Oh, really? Sneaky.
So we are live.
Oh, shucks. Damn it. I should have said. Now I don't know what I said.
Let's just change to English just to get used to it. But something that I started doing again, like a few podcasts I didn't. It's like 1, 2, 3, go. And we're starting to record now. The last few podcasts I've just been recording for a few minutes.
Okay.
And then, but we can, I don't actually have to take this part right now. Like I can start in 10 minutes from now.
That's absolutely fine. I'm happy with that.
But then the reason I'm asking is the last 2 podcasts, I've broken my rule.
Oh.
And my new rule was don't do anything over 1 hour 45 minutes.
Okay.
And the last one was 2 hours and 30 minutes, and
That's
the one
fine.
before that was 3 hours and 20 minutes. I was like,
oh wow. Yeah, I promise I won't talk that long.
yeah, I'm the chatty Cathy, so I'm like,
okay.
I just don't know if you could really discuss anything in depth less than 2 hours.
That's true.
I feel
That's
like if
true.
I want to,
Yeah.
I need at least 2 hours to maybe understand a person or something. And maybe that's the way my brain works. Maybe some people's brains work similar. And the other challenge is in current society to get someone for 2 hours is very difficult.
Yes.
So I don't want to invite someone for an hour.
Yeah.
Because I saw
And then
now
they
that
rush.
we've been struggling to see each other.
Yes,
And
it's
imagine-
been a nightmare, yeah.
Yeah, imagine we do an hour and then it's like, okay, let's book another hour.
Yeah.
It's just too
They're
difficult.
finding another hour. Yeah.
And I'm sure my podcast suffers because of the duration or the length of each podcast. I'm 100% like if I was were to be famous, or if I was famous,
You do it shorter.
people be like, cool, we're willing to listen to this
Yes.
random fucker. But
But now they're like, no, it's too long.
it's like, do you really want to listen? If you see a famous actor or an actor that you know, you are willing to watch The
Yeah.
Irishman. That's 3
Yeah.
hours long.
No.
Or Titanic.
No. If it's a horror movie, yes.
Okay.
3 hours of being scared shitless.
see
It's
the-
fine.
I see the guy from The Exorcist died this
I
last
know,
week.
it's so sad.
I don't know who he is, but I saw The Exorcist when I was a small boy.
He was quite in a lot of horror movies. I
Okay.
can't remember the names because my brain is mush, but
Yeah.
he wasn't quite. It's sad. He's a
Is
good
it
actor.
Selene or Selene?
Selena. But I respond to everything.
What do most people call you?
Celine.
Celine.
Yeah.
Celine
but
Dion.
yeah, no. but I prefer Selena, and I've had Selene. I've had Selly. I was like, yeah, no.
So, but I'm sure that you spend a lot of time in Africa, and it's just easier
Yes.
to go to Celine.
Strangely enough, in most of the African countries, they pronounce my name correctly,
Okay.
which I find really odd. But it's only in South Africa that people seem to struggle with. Obviously, in countries where they speak more French, I become Celine again. But in the other countries, oddly enough, tell them my name and they pronounce it correctly.
As an
Which is
Afrikaner, it's Selene.
Yeah,
And as an English person, I
they'll
read
go Celine. But even the Afrikaans people call me Celine.
Are we going to make fun of Afrikaans people today?
No, we won't do that. You can if you want to. I'll behave today. I won't make. I'm Afrikaans, but yeah. So
I had to mention, I've got this year,
what is that?
and I went to see the Stellenbosch University choir today.
How was it?
It was not as amazing as last year.
Oh, I'm sorry.
And I think the reason is, there's a few reasons. One, it's the Woordfees, where you can be publicly racist and it's acceptable.
Oh yes.
you can be publicly a doos.
Yes.
And my wife cries every year at Woordfeest because all the Afrikaners come to Stellenbosch, and
they're horrible.
And when she tries to help them, they refuse to speak English to her, and then they wait until an Afrikaans person within the business. And
hate that.
My wife is from Poland, so she's struggling a bit with Afrikaans.
That's just me.
But what was interesting was we did the university choir last year, and it was they did 2 days of free choir that you could attend for an hour. And it was unbelievable. Like, my wife was crying. I was quite emotional. It was a really and a lot of young people attended.
Yes.
Today was Woordfeest, so it was just grey fuckers all over the place.
Shame.
At some point, there was this whole empty row. I'm like, they all died on the way here, or their wheelchairs have flat tires. And my wife fucking hit me. She's like, shh.
Oh, God.
And what was interesting was there was quite a lot of God songs or angel songs today.
Okay. So
the
very religious.
The theme changed slightly.
Okay.
And I'm like, and I assume during the show that it's because it's Woordfeest. Afrikaners in general are a little bit
more religious.
And something that disturbed me, because I am a disturbing human.
Okay.
They had a black gentleman from the choir go to the front and introduce the song, and he did it in Afrikaans. And everyone clapped hands as if it was something
strange,
remarkable. And I'm like, I find that offensive that you think it's interesting or like amazing. This black guy can speak my language, and he speaks it well, and I understand it. I'm like,
you speak really good English or Afrikaans for a black person. Yeah, that's just horrid.
So I stood there, and I felt a little bit weird during the concert. Where last year I felt a bit different.
Was last year also part of Woordfeest?
No,
I think something separate.
I think they did it the week after Woordfeest.
Okay.
And so the Woordfeest time, it's a little bit difficult for me. I'm always waiting for my wife to come home and be like, she had it yesterday where she came home and she's just like, this and this and this happened, and I'm like, I'm waiting for these fuckers to realize that I'm only 500 meters away. And I will get you. If you make my wife cry, I will get you.
I will get you. Shame.
But it's been... No. Anyway, so, fuck
I'm
that.
Sorry she has to go through that. It's horrible. I've been to dinners and lunches with people who are like that.
Yeah.
And it's embarrassing and irritating, and I always feel horrible for the waiters.
Yeah, so I joke with Afrikaners. I feel a bit like Ali G that jokes about the Jews.
Yes.
It's like because he's Jewish or
he can
Jewish
make jokes about it, yes.
So I feel the same about the Afrikaners.
But you're allowed to joke because,
And their fucked up behavior hurts me more because I'm from the background.
Yeah, that's my mom and I in public. We hardly ever speak Afrikaans because we're terrified of being associated with that quite racist... I'm just going to say it. A lot of Afrikaners are very racist. They might not believe it or see it in themselves, but they are, and we just don't want to be associated with that. So in public, we speak mostly English.
Plus, we're still in the Boerland, so I wonder if that has an influence on the type of Afrikaner that we're hanging out with.
Do you mean like it's a better Afrikaner here than elsewhere, or that it's...
I'm just saying that we're in the farm area where it's still a little bit where the demographic... So if you go to Johannesburg, a lot of black people are super rich.
True.
So then they suddenly become your equal.
Yes.
Where here a lot of your colored people are still farm workers or the black... So I wonder if...
power dynamic is still a bit skew.
I wonder sometimes.
It can be.
Because we were speaking today about what I miss about London.
Is the English people? No, I'm joking.
No, I actually don't miss them at all. They were really racist as well.
Oh, God.
Like the fact that they know that you're a foreigner, and especially if you're an African, like they suddenly treat you differently.
Yeah.
It's a more subtle racism that they've got.
That's the worst kind, is the subtle racism.
I don't know. I don't know who you're going to play this podcast to, so I want to be really careful for being myself.
Go for it. Be yourself. I'll be bold and be myself as well.
I just said something like, what I miss about England is that you can say that Jesus was sucking my dick last night and no one looks at you.
You're funny.
It's like, whatever. Yeah. You can be yourself and I'm not going to take it personal.
Yes.
And I feel like where we live right now, everyone takes it personal.
Yeah. They become really upset.
I'm like, if I don't actually do anything
To hurt you.
to hurt
Yes.
you, then I'm technically not a bad person.
Yes.
If I joke about
I
you
agree.
or about
Yeah.
something, and I always say I'm the biggest retard of them all. So, like, I'm not exempt from anything.
Yeah. You
So,
can joke with yourself. Yes.
but yeah, Afrikaners are amazing. Some of the most amazing people I know are Afrikaners. And some of the most fucked up people I know are Afrikaners.
Afrikaners.
So it goes both ways.
Yeah, it does. It does. Trying to think now. I don't really have Afrikaans friends. My family is Afrikaans and that's it.
But they're pretty cool.
No. I'm going. Some of them are also those horrible racist people.
In your family.
Yeah, extremely racist. But
And
our core
socially
family.
racist or privately racist?
Both. No, it's awful.
Seriously?
Yes. I'm not going to say which family member. I sent her a WhatsApp. We were chatting on WhatsApp and I said, oh, I'm going to Uganda next week. And she was like, ugh. And I was like, what do you mean, ugh? It's fucking awesome. I'm going to Uganda. It's brilliant. If I could move there, I would. And it was just like, oh, come on. So, but my core family is not like that. So I think my parents are a bit different than other. I always joke that I've been raised by hippies. So my mother and dad taught me you question everything. So obviously I had a hard time in school. Every time I came home after I started grade 1, I would tell my mom, the teacher said this, is this true? And then she'll go, yeah, it is, and this is how it works. And I got into trouble because when we learned capital letters, I was just astounded by these new letters that I'm learning. So I wrote everything in all caps. And the teacher told me to not do it. And I couldn't figure out why did she teach me new letters if I'm not allowed to use them. So I kept doing it because it didn't make... And my mom would always explain to us, if she tells us don't do that, she'll explain why. And she never thought it was disrespectful if she tells us something and we ask her, but why? So, but for the teacher, obviously that was too much. And I ended up getting a hiding because I still kept using it. And I was like, if you can't explain to me why I can't use them. And yeah, so just from the day I went to school, it's been...
So I'm gonna jump.
Awful.
I'm
Yes.
gonna go down this avenue, which I didn't plan, but I think there are certain similarities with us in the sense of we struggled with the culture that we were
Yeah.
raised with, which is 1, Afrikaans,
Yeah.
2, that normally meant Christian,
Yeah.
and 3, it normally meant like
Blind
yours.
respect for authority, which I was taught you shouldn't have.
I was taught that seen, not heard.
Yes.
Don't
I wasn't,
question.
I was, whereas mine was complete opposite. I was heard, I was seen, everything, and children are important, and you're allowed to question everything. I don't have to say E. I could call my parents yay and yo. As my mom said, it's not about what you call people, it's how you speak to them. So you can call someone, you can use respectful words, and you can say it in a tone that's really disrespectful.
Yeah.
And so, my sister and I both had difficulties at school.
Yeah.
Because we just don't do authority at all.
Still not.
Still not. I have difficulty at work because I don't do authority. I go like, oh no, that's not how it works. Why did you do this?
Yeah, I think your thinking is very backwards. And it's like, sorry, and it's not even sir, your thinking.
Your thinking is just, it's fucked up and stupid. And at work they know I swear a lot. I don't even notice it anymore, but yeah.
It's weird with the swearing, which has been my experience. I don't know if I told you this, but I had a couple of situations with Paul Roos Gymnasium where they want to hold me accountable, or maybe just the teacher. It's like his kids were they were cycling on the farm I stayed. I built a lot of mountain bike tracks there, which is available for free for people to use. But there are certain assumed rules that you got to be responsible. And these kids were driving recklessly. And unfortunately, the one kid was doing it in a Paul Roos jumper. And I nearly killed him.
Oh, God.
Because he came out of the mountain bike track onto the road.
No.
And luckily, I responded where I didn't drive over him. So, and I got a massive fright.
Of course.
And I did a PTSD counseling session an hour before that.
Oh no, so you're already...
Well, it was my first PTSD, like for years, this trauma shit. So I'm like, and then that happened, and then I lost it.
I can imagine.
And I swore at these kids, and then they looked at me like,
how dare you talk to me like that?
like these rich, spoiled brats, and that just triggered something in me.
Yeah.
And then I used a few names of teachers I knew, and in retrospect, I wouldn't have done any of it.
No, yeah.
So what happened after? So I was just like, get out of here. I can see my cars are fine. Half an hour later, I calmed down. I'm like, why did this happen? I'm
Yeah.
like, because the mountain bike trails aren't maintained. Things are overgrown. So what I did is I contacted the people
Yes.
responsible for that, which
Oh,
is
wow.
Stellenbosch Trail Fund.
Yes.
I contacted the farm owners, the
Yeah.
administration, and told them about it. I contacted this teacher at Paulrus and said, this is what happened.
Yes, you need to
And
make a
I
plan.
am unfortunately sorry. I feel really bad with the way I spoke to the kids.
Yes.
I'm really embarrassed.
Yeah.
And I would like to apologize.
You got a fright, they got a fright.
And then basically he's like, cool, it's fine. And then the next day I went to go look at my car again. I'm like, fuck, it's $3,000 worth of damage.
Oh.
And I don't have insurance on it because it's an old car.
Yeah.
So I'm like, I'm going to ask the school or the kids who did it to do it.
to pay
And then
for it.
suddenly they're like, no, because you were swearing at the kids.
Oh, that has got nothing to do with it.
And then I
that
had
has
this-
absolutely nothing to do
So
with
then
it.
I had this big challenge of no, but I was swearing. And then even the father of the kid who I
No.
contacted, I finally got his number. I was like,
Well,
so...
it isn't going to cost you money for swearing. It didn't. That's not what damaged the
Yeah,
car.
but I phoned the father. I was like,
Yeah.
listen, this is who I am. And first of all, I would like to apologize with the way I
Yeah.
spoke to your son.
Yes.
If I was in your position, I would probably feel like smacking me.
Yes.
But could I please give you the context of what happened?
Yeah.
And could we look at the matter, which is
Yeah.
they drove irresponsibly.
They
I
did.
nearly killed them, and
There's damage.
then
to
I
your
had to
car.
battle him for a month to pay out. And I was just like, it's a society that puts more emphasis on the way,
Yes.
on what you say rather than what you do.
And the
So
context
if
of
you
it.
look
Yeah.
like a gangster, but you're Jesus,
Yes.
and his
They will
behavior,
judge you.
it's
Yeah.
like you gotta be in a suit and be like Jesus. You can't just be
Yes.
Jesus.
Yeah.
And it's like, if you look at what I'm doing,
Yes.
I'm doing everything right. You guys are being the cunts.
Yes. Absolutely.
Blah, blah, blah. And it's
Yeah.
like, and that's the society we grew up with. Like,
Yeah.
if you look at like all if we start going into university
Yes.
here and you start backflaking, what are they
Yeah.
called?
Oh God. Yes. Wilgenhof.
If you start looking at, I wanted to tell him, I'm like, listen,
Yeah.
you guys want to make Paulrus as if it's a church, okay?
Yes.
Paulrus probably 150 years ago had 400 slaves in his back garden.
Yeah.
Are we really going to now make him as
As
if
this
he's this
big,
holy
awesome-
institution?
yeah.
I was at the school. They're not a bunch of corrupt motherfuckers.
They're pretty close.
But they will protect who is of vital
Yeah.
importance, and if you're not of vital importance, it's
They
like
will
any
throw you under the
political
bus.
institution.
Yeah.
And sorry for my little.
But I understand
It's
it.
like again, it just disturbs me that people will put more emphasis on you
The surface
swore,
things. Yeah.
and it's like.
Rather than a child could have been killed because they were driving recklessly.
I had a situation here at the. If you look down here, there was a father punching his son at 1 o'clock in the morning. His 9-year-old boy,
Oh.
and I went to go
Hell
help
no.
out. No one in the whole neighborhood did nothing. I waited for an hour for the police. It took me 4 phone calls to get them out. Even when they showed out, I went to go get them and I got them into the property. That's the type of person I
Yeah.
am. And you
But other
fucks.
people would just.
Oh, doing what?
Yeah,
You know, so let's look
nothing.
at action rather than
Yeah,
words. And that's
I
what
agree.
disturbed me with the Afrikaans culture
Yes.
when I grew up. It's like,
Yeah.
you could be a two-faced motherfucker at the church on
Yeah.
Sunday and then go back
And
to
they're
your...
absolutely happy with it. No. I think I think I was blessed with the parents that I had that really they even though it makes life a bit difficult. I've been called a troublemaker so many times, and difficult, and all kinds of names. I was called a vicious bitch. I was like, well, you said like it's a bad thing. And one guy asked me, so you're a troublemaker? I went like, yeah, I'm a troublemaker. You do shit, I make trouble.
Yeah.
So I think, so even though that's been difficult, I think I've been blessed to have parents who taught us to think for ourselves, to challenge authority, don't accept things blindly, don't focus on the surface things, focus on the substance of things. If the substance is good, the surface really doesn't matter. So my mom, I remember when I was very, very little, this was during apartheid, she would sit me down and she'll tell me, so you get good black people and you get bad black people. Being black doesn't make you bad. I was like, yeah, I know. Why are you telling me this? And then she'll sit me down and she'll say, you get good gay people and you get bad gay people. Being gay doesn't make you bad. I go, yeah, I know. It was before I was in school. I couldn't figure out why she would say that, because we were also very much protected from the political situation. But then later I realized why she kept emphasizing it. It wasn't just showing us who to be in her behavior. She made a point of telling us that it's about a person's character. It's not about being gay. It's not about what race you are. It kept telling us the government is evil. So, and I couldn't at that age figure out why she would tell me stuff that's so obvious. And then later when you come into contact with your peers and other Afrikaans people, I started realizing what's going on. And it was quite an eye-opener.
No, definitely. I think I had a conversation with my dad, and my dad is liberal compared to my peers' parents, and my mom similar.
Yeah.
But even they are still, in my opinion, conservative, where yours would be considered liberal.
Not just liberal, I think they're anarchists.
Yeah?
Yes, like, let's break the whole system down.
But I said to my dad, like, I think you raised me, or the way I got raised didn't prepare me for reality.
Yeah.
And reality is, life is unfair.
Yes.
And regardless of who and what you are, money talks. If you can take a shortcut, then do it. And that is what everyone will do. Morals is a nice thing, but when it comes to business, 99% of people don't have it. Going upstream, choosing the hard path will not reward you in any other way other than feeling good.
Yes.
And there's all these things that I got taught as a little kid. What's the little story you got told with the guy that was on the horse that went to go save people in the ship?
Was that Volraad Woltemade?
Yeah.
Yes, I love that story. I was like, poor horse. What a brave horse. Like, screw the human, that horse is so brave.
And I got raised with that idea of this romantic notion of doing what's right.
Heroic.
And this, and I'm like, unfortunately I have that.
Yes.
And it makes my life really hard. And I can assume
it does, because I was also, I was prepared, I was taught that even though they kept us kind of protected from the political situation, we were raised knowing that life is unfair. Doesn't have to be. You can fight it. You probably won't win, but you can still fight it. And my mom, every time, say something unfair happened at school and we want to do something about it, then she says, okay, if you do something about it, what will the consequences be? Are you okay with those consequences? And we usually, my sister is a much more dominant person than I am. So she would also stand her ground, but I was the one getting bullied, and I'm her older sister, and I remember her coming up for me and protecting me from bullies. She would physically get into fistfights with my bullies, and no one ever bullied her, and we had the same approach, but she has a much more dominant personality. And she's also a lot taller than me, so maybe people are scared of her, and they go like, you're short, we'll just bully you. But we always went, this is the right thing to do, this is the consequences, we accept it.
But you find life hard because of that?
I do, but I can't do it any other way. I tried. I promised myself, I'm not going to tell the story in detail because I still don't want to get in trouble though, unnecessarily. But I promised myself when I got back to work, because last year I was booked off for 3 months from burnout. And I promised myself, I'm at work, I'm not going to get into fights or start fights during meetings. First week back, 4th day, we have a meeting. God. So I got really pissed off when people started using language like those people, talking about black people as minorities. I was like, oh, hell no. And about what the students who come here lack, that language of deficiency. So I'm texting my mom and one of my friends, and my mom's saying, because she wants to protect me, and she says, you know what, just stay calm, breathe, etc. My friend, she's less directive. She always guides with questions. So she asks, what do you want to do? What do you think would be the best course of action? My mom's like, just stay calm. And I started shaking. One of my friends who was also in the meeting, she said she just heard heavy breathing, and she was like, oh, hell, she's going to explode. So I was breathing heavily. I was shaking because I was so angry. And I realized I'm probably going to get a heart attack if I don't say something. So even though it might cause problems, me saying something, I'm going to drop dead if I don't. And I felt immediately better when I spoke up. And then I continued the fight during the tea break as well. Like, not let people get away with it. So yes, life is unfair, but I'll fight until it's not.
But doesn't it make you tired?
Very. I think that's also why
What's
I burnt
the phrase,
out.
jy poep teen die wind?
Yes.
What's the English version of
It doesn't have a nice English version.
It's almost like
Farting
pissing into the
against
wind.
Pissing into the wind, yes.
Where the Afrikaans one is farting into the wind.
Yeah,
it
which
just blows back into your own face.
Doesn't sound the same. It sounds nice in Afrikaans.
But doesn't it feel like that? Because I find like I'm very proud of who I am. And I feel like there's a lot of people out there that's got a world championship or an Olympic gold medal, and they feel like this makes them special.
Yes.
Where I feel a lot of times like my morals is so unique. Very few people have it.
So, and that makes you special.
And I'm like, this makes me special, but fucking hell, it makes me so tired.
It does.
And I had an argument with Web Africa this weekend where they sold me data. So what happened was my data was finished. It's my first month with them. So my data was finished like 3 or 4 days prior to the end of the month.
No.
So I'm like, can I buy some top up? So I bought like 10 gigabytes, and they're like, cool. So now I go in, but they're like, the data will expire in 30 days. I'm like, it's fine.
It's fine, yeah.
So I see, but now the new month has started, so now they're not using the data that's going to expire. They're using the other data.
Oh, no.
So I phoned them. I'm like, dude, come on, this is slightly sneaky.
Yes.
If you told me that, I probably wouldn't. And then I ended up having, it was on WhatsApp, Web Africa. I ended up having a 2-hour argument with this guy.
Oh, my God.
And he ended up he ended the chat. Without giving me an option. He was just like, your chat has been ended.
Oh, God.
And I said to him, a few times, I'm like, dude, this is not about you. This is about the company that you work for. And the morals.
I had a fight with Vodacom.
And I'm like, I had a fight with Vodacom also the other day. I'm like,
I left them, and then they tried to blacklist me, and I just went ballistic. And then I had already moved to a different cell company. And they tried to comp me with after they realized this woman is going to cause a lot of shit. And I was like, why are you comping me?
What does comping mean?
They
Complimentary.
Told me, complimentary extra data and stuff. I'm not with you anymore. Like, that's useless. But they backed off. But I was pissed off.
Because what happened to me was I joined them knowing that I might not stay in the country for 24 months. So I signed a 24-month contract, and they told me, just give us a month notice.
And then it will be fine.
Now I've gone there, and they're like, no, you've got to take your 24 months. And I'm like, okay, cool. So
that's not what you said.
It's not what you said, but fuck it. I don't want to have an argument with you. Can you just please cancel my contract at the end of the 24 months? No. You have to do it within 4 weeks prior to the contract ending. I'm like, I'm not going to be in the country then. Okay, but...
Oh, my God.
I'm like, it's in 3 months from now. Just cancel it now.
Yeah.
And now I have an argument with this lady, and then suddenly I can see she takes it personal. We're talking about Vodacom in Stellenbosch Square. So I said to her, I'm like, this is not about you. This is about the company you're representing. And unfortunately, you've chosen a position where you are now the spokesman for them.
So I realized they're not the ones doing it, but they can't just shut down the conversation.
And it took me about 5 minutes to say, listen, I know you're not happy with your bosses. I know they're not paying you the overtime they're supposed to. I know you're understaffed. And she said,
yeah. Empathy always works well.
No, but I said to her, you know what I mean? I understand that you are unhappy, so you can understand that I'm unhappy. And then it ended up like, I was just like, just give me a copy of the contract I signed with you. Oh, but we don't have that.
Oh, but then they don't have a contract with you.
And then I'm like,
I'll
okay,
just go
but
like,
she's
no.
like, I'll contact head office. I'm like, okay. And then,
Oh, that's impossible to contact head office.
so then a couple of days later, I get a SMS. What was the rating? 0 to 10. I was like 0. Suddenly, 24 hours later, someone phones me. What was
Yes.
wrong?
Yeah.
And I explain again. I'm like,
Yeah.
it's not the lady.
Yes, it's not her. It's the whole system.
Forget that I walked in. There was
Yeah.
no one in the shop. All 4 of the people were
Yes.
on their telephones. Your
Yeah.
manager was eating jelly tots. I don't care about that. What I care about is the policy.
Yes.
Yes, I understand, and blah, 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 blah,
Yeah.
blah. And then she's like, I'll
Oh,
put you through to
Lord.
the cancellation department. But
Yeah.
then I ended
that's-
up talking to cancellations. I still cannot cancel. And they automatically renewing the contract. That's the worst. If
Because
I
you
don't
don't-
cancel it, they
oh.
automatically renew. I was like, I committed to 24 months.
Yeah, and that's
Vodacom,
it.
fuck you. Fuck you,
Go to
Vodacom.
Hello Peter. I moved over to Cell C, and they might not be as good technologically. These
Yeah.
dropped calls, and the signal doesn't always work.
Yeah.
But their service is so good, and they're so helpful, and they go out of their way to make sure you're happy. Which Vodacom, they just kept screwing me over, and I was like, okay, I'm done. So I left.
I felt like
And then
I
they kept taking money from my account as if I'm still with them.
What?
I was so angry.
It's almost like they remind me of Telkom.
They do.
I'm like, this is what I experienced with
It's
Telkom.
impossible to try and do so. Yeah, no. We quickly moved to fiber the moment we could.
Yeah, I'm just leaving the country. Fuck
Yeah,
that.
so you're just
I'm
going.
just
You're
immigrating.
fucking
I
off.
was like,
You're
I
like,
just-
nah.
I can't deal with it anymore. It's just weird how I say to them, like, we as the there's legislation in place, like the basic conditions of the
supposed to
Employment Act,
protect
which is
you.
like the
Yes.
employer versus employee. But there's the same thing for
For
clients
customers,
or
yeah,
customers.
yeah.
And I'm like, you guys just don't care about it. And
No.
I said to my wife, I think the problem is that the customers don't know the rights they have.
No.
So the companies get away with it. The other thing that
Also, you're not going to fight them in court because it's such a schlep, and they're bargaining on that because the people who have fought them in court, they won. So, where the contracts, they said the contract is void because you didn't make sure the client understood, or the contract is void because that's not legal. But no one wants. It's such a schlep.
this is the thing. Everyone. So what's weird is it's again, what are you saying versus what are you doing?
Yeah.
Everyone would have an opinion, but when this
Yes.
shit, I don't know how many times you've had a business meeting and it's like everyone before the business meeting says we got to do this, we got to do this,
Yeah.
and then it's the business meeting and it's like all those in favor of this, and then no one lifts their hands, and then I'm
Yes.
like all brave and
Yes.
and then everyone and I'm looking around and I was like I'm alone.
Yeah, I've had the same where people go, yes, we will fight and win, and then I go and like, oh, I'm on my own. Cool.
So anyway, like to anyone listening, apologies for me unloading a lot of my emotional baggage from my childhood. Not everyone at Paul Roos is corrupt. My father was there as a teacher for 20 years. So I do
nice.
understand the school
Yes.
slightly different. My grandfather was in matric in Paul Roos.
I've never been there. I wasn't there.
So there are a lot of
Yeah.
good people at Paul
Yeah.
Roos. I just had a few unfortunate incidents with them. Not all of everything. So just
Yeah.
let's all just be in context.
Yes. There's good and bad.
I think it's similar. Like I spoke to someone earlier. Like this thing about this father hitting his child, it did affect me quite badly.
I can imagine.
And I've been struggling with it this last 2 weeks,
Yeah.
and I've booked myself for another PTSD
Oh, that's
session.
good. That's good.
And I say to people, unfortunately, I've really become involved with life, and there's
It
good
takes its
and bad.
toll.
And a lot of people live in a bubble, and they don't have anything to complain or talk about.
Yeah.
And I have a lot, and it's very cool to talk about a lot of things, but it takes its toll on you.
does. Yeah, I decided I'll need to choose my battles, and I don't have to fight every time. Because I feel quite strongly that white people need to speak up. Because we can't expect black people and people of color to do all the fighting all the time and all the explaining all the time, because they get battle fatigue as well. But I've learned I need to take care of myself too. I sometimes need to back off and go, this fight, I'm
It's
going
not
to let
worth
this one go. just recuperate, and then fight some more.
I still need to learn that. I think my ego gets in the way.
Wait until you burn out. You learn lots of stuff very quickly.
I feel very close. I've been taking off now for 2 weeks. It's like I go to work
nice.
and I sleep. And I go to
shame.
It's just it's been a tough 2 weeks.
Yeah.
Like I was raised with you can't say I can't.
Yes.
But that's also
unfortunately so have I.
But it's also because of my dad. He had one leg growing up as a kid.
Okay.
And
so
every
if he
time
can do it, you can do it.
Well, every time he said I can't, his father hit him.
Oh.
So he really got raised with
you cannot
you
say
can
I
do
can't.
it. And he lived his whole life.
Yeah.
Like, I wish I could accomplish half of what my dad did. So I also have this thing of, well, I can. Because look, and
yes.
so I have a very hard time with I can't.
Yeah.
But I'm slowly realizing
Yes.
that I can't.
Yeah.
And it's a tough pill to swallow. But my ego gets into the way sometimes. I think it is a lot of naivety.
Yes.
I think Afrikaans people, we in general quite naive as a...
Probably. Yeah. Not really.
It's like I grew up with the Seventh Heaven series.
Me too. I remember that.
And I'm like, that's the real world.
Yes,
And
it's just, so rosy. and problems get solved so easily.
And it's like just that naive thinking that
Yes,
is the world.
that is how it is,
And
and it's
inevitably, no
not.
matter what challenge, the mom and the dad's going to be
Yes.
on the same page.
Yeah.
And it's 7 kids or whatever, and they all somehow, no one's bullying no one.
Yeah, no, I think what really opened my eyes was I studied English literature, and the literature we did really opened my eyes, and exposed me to all the horrors and things, which is a good thing. It's not a bad thing, and forced me to think. Because even though I had the liberal parents, I was still quite protected. I wasn't aware of things like white privilege. I wasn't aware of how horrible apartheid actually was. Also, when I was 7, we moved to Namibia. And Namibia became independent shortly after we moved there. So, and the schools were already integrated. So I wasn't as aware of the racism. And then when I got here, I was just shocked at the realities of it, and I was like, oh.
Because the dress you're wearing is African. That
Yes.
classifies as African.
This is my favorite dress. I wore them specially for today. I got this from my students in Ghana as a gift.
It's really beautiful.
Thank you.
It's comfortable.
Very comfortable. I started wearing mostly African clothes because I love food, so I'm a little bit bigger. And the clothes just fit better. It's more comfortable. It's very durable. I love the colors.
And it's nice during the heat.
It is. I don't feel... It's not clinging to me. I just love this dress. And what I was amazed is when they got me the dress, they didn't have measurements or anything. They knew exactly what would fit me.
Yeah.
But they're all in Ghana, especially a lot of them make their own clothes.
Okay.
Or they have the clothes made. I've never seen more beautifully dressed people anywhere than the students in that group.
Yeah.
That was, it's the most beautiful cloth and fabrics. Every time I go to an African country, I come back with a really heavy suitcase, stacks of cloth. I'm still looking for someone to make clothes for me. Okay. Because the one lady who made the clothes, who's in Stellenbosch, she now moved to London with her husband. So
was she doing so well that she could move to London?
Well, her husband got a job there, and she's busy with her postgrad, so they went there.
There's I don't know how good the ladies are, but at the Braak, then opposite, then you have like Ikea, the little backpackers. And there on the inside, there's a lady that fixes a lot of my clothes.
Yes, but can she make African clothes?
I don't know.
Yeah.
But I know quite a few African people, so I might be able to hook you up.
Yes, please, hook me up.
Anya actually is thinking of shipping containers of African clothes to Poland because it might, we don't know, but we're thinking of
it's just
options.
So beautiful, and it just fits so well, and it's comfortable.
I maybe ask her to, I took a picture of her yesterday because her mom's really arty and Anya's really arty.
Nice.
And then she had a dress on yesterday. She's like, can you take a picture for my mom?
Yeah, because with the lady who made our dresses, because I always bring cloth for my colleagues as well, and you would send her a picture of the dress you want, and you give her your measurements and give her the cloth, and she'll make it.
Yeah.
And when I was in Rwanda, we bought cloth. We walked into a small sewing shop, gave him the cloth. 2 days later, we could go and collect the dress.
Very
It
cool.
was just...
I'm going to see if I can hook you
Very
up.
well done. Yes, please. Because none of my friends know. And the one person who had someone who made her clothes, that person also left. So she's also looking for a new person to
And
make her clothes.
the nationality of the people that made your clothes for you in Stellenbosch?
Ghana.
Ghanaians.
Yeah, they call
What do you
themselves
call it?
Ghanaians.
Guardians.
Yes, when I was there, they talked about Ghanaians. So I was
Okay.
like, that's it. We talk about Ghanaians. Not Ghanaians, it's Ghanaians. So very, very nice clothes.
So explain your, let's move a little bit more towards the language thing and the travels to Africa and Uganda and a little bit more of your actual background. So why are you going into these African countries?
I do writing skills workshops for postgraduate students at the writing lab. And
English.
the classes are in English, but we have I always feel nervous when I say this to the students. We have a language-friendly approach. So they can speak whichever language they feel comfortable, because it's not about language acquisition, it's about writing skills.
Okay.
So I had one group where every single person in the group greeted me in a different language.
Okay.
What I was so chuffed about is I could greet most of them back in that language, but that's it. Yes, and one greeted me in Russian. I was like, you didn't know I had a Russian teacher for oboe.
No way.
So I'm going to greet you back in Russian.
So what languages are you comfortable or fluent?
Just English and Afrikaans.
Okay.
I can read German. I don't speak it very well. And if someone speaks German, they have to speak slowly. So that I can... What's weird though is if I go to Namibia and I hear German a lot, then all of a sudden I can start speaking it again. But when I'm in South Africa trying to speak German, it's just too much of a struggle. I tried learning Russian out of pure desperation because we had an oboe teacher who was...
Which teacher?
An oboe. Oboe is
Oboe.
a music instrument because I studied music actually.
Okay.
And he was an absolute sweetie. He was just lovely. But he would sometimes, if he couldn't come and teach us, he'd send his wife.
Okay.
And his wife could hardly speak English. And she was extremely aggressive and angry and always yelling at us. And she asked me to play a dominant septa. So I play a dominant seventh. And she starts yelling and stamping her feet and, "Niet, niet, dominant septa." And I'm going, I don't know what you want. So out of pure desperation, I started learning a little bit of Russian just to figure out what this woman wants from me.
Yeah.
And then when we complained to him about it, he said, "Oh, yes, I know. She's very angry." I was like, then why are you sending her to us? Like, no, just leave her at home. But that's it. And then obviously I still want to learn isiXhosa and I still want to learn Swahili. So I know some phrases and words, but I want to learn it properly. But the workshop is mostly in English. And then students are free to speak whichever language they feel comfortable with. I can only translate the Afrikaans, but if they want to translate it or someone else translate it, that's fine. And then if someone is writing in a different language, I will have the notes translated and give that to them in the language they're writing in.
Okay.
So that's, yeah. But then, I can't remember how many years ago. I think it's the graduate office of the Arts and Social Sciences faculty. They have... the group is called Pangaea, and I can't remember what it stands for. It's something like Pan-African, something for new, something academics. I can't remember exactly what it stands for. But then once or twice a year, they have workshops. There's 8 African universities that's part of this group. And then we go to other places and do workshops. And the very first African country, granted, I grew up in Namibia, but I never thought of it as a separate country. And then the first African country basically that I visited was Uganda. Okay. And I just fell in love with the I say the country. I was only in Kampala and Entebbe, but I assume the rest of the country is awesome as well.
Yeah.
So we went there and it was just awesome. And I absolutely loved it. And then the year after that, we went to Ghana. Also, absolutely loved it. Just fell in love with the place. And we went to Tanzania. And then the Africa Center for Scholarship also contacted me and said, would I like to do workshops? Because they have a joint school and they collaborate with different African universities. So through them, I went back to Uganda, Kenya, Rwanda. I can't remember the others.
But what? Because you said the year that people in poorer countries working well together. Almost there's a better sense of community there.
I think
and I wanted to talk to you about that because I work with predominantly black people.
Yes.
So I would say the last 4 years, 97% of the people I work with are black. And that's and I would say within that demographic, I would say 50% are Zimbabwean and 40% are Malawian. And then the other part is either Congolese or Xhosa, not really, but a little bit.
Okay.
And I grew up with people from Senegal.
Oh, nice.
Because I played African drums, djembes, as a kid. And the only people that could teach me were the Senegalese. And they are just really good at it. It's almost like Brazilians at football or soccer.
Yes.
And so I grew up from a young age with African culture. And I realized it's different from South African black culture.
Yes.
And just South African culture, certain parts.
Yes.
And I don't know, I just find it interesting going to other countries. But it's the same with like white English versus South African white, you know. It's just, that we're not all the same. But you said that you went to a few countries and it seems that they are working well together, despite the fact that they are poorer than maybe we are.
It also depends on how you see poor, because Ghana is actually, their economy is a lot stronger than South Africa's.
Okay.
They have free education from sub-A up to doctoral level. So but there is also that sense of community and togetherness. Uganda, I had a student who was very offended that I can't remember who defined poverty. It's the World Bank or someone like that they define poverty as living on less than $1 a day. Uganda has, according to those parameters, Uganda would be considered poor. But he said they're not poor because everyone is fed. What was absolutely amazing about Uganda, the first thing I noticed when I got out of the airplane was the smell. It was just, you could smell the water and the soil, and it's this rich soil. It's almost black. It's so there's fruit and vegetables growing wild. No one goes hungry because you walk to work and you just pluck whatever you want to eat. And the fruit and the vegetables are massive. So he said they're not poor because everyone is full. They have enough food. And what I also saw in Uganda is how many people take care of the orphans.
Okay.
It's a big thing, it seems, in Uganda that they take care of orphans. So there is this strong sense of community.
And why are there
everywhere.
A lot of orphans?
I have no idea. I was wondering the same thing. I was surprised. Or I thought maybe there aren't more orphans there than at other countries, just their people are more adamant about taking care of them. Okay. Every single person I spoke to were taking care of orphans. So I'm not sure if they have more orphans or whether they are just very adamant about taking care of orphans.
Because something that's I've become aware this last year, and I a lot of my gaining information starts with joking about something, and then realizing, or then we talk about it. For example, a lot of my Zimbabwean students will say, I have to go back to Zimbabwe because someone died. But they use it as an excuse not to go to work, and then they think that you
won't know.
I wouldn't ask them for a death certificate, but because my brother died when I was 30 and he was 32 and I had to go register his death certificate and blah blah. It's like I know the process when someone dies.
It's a big process.
And I understand everything. So, and here there's a big thing of, now someone in my family dies. I won't be able to come to work for 2 weeks. I'm going back to Zimbabwe. So I joked one day, I'm like, there's no old people in Zimbabwe.
Oh, no.
Because they all die. Because I always have staff that's going home.
Yeah.
But then we found, like, through talking to a lot of the Shona people, I'm like, the life expectancy is between 45 to 60.
Shame.
Like,
you must have felt so bad.
You don't know.
Okay.
It's like, it seems that the life expectancy for Shona people, from what they tell me, is 45 to 60.
That's sad.
And I'm like, it's crazy to think that we're in my culture, white Afrikaans culture, I would think that I would live to about 80 to 90.
Yes.
It's crazy to think that it's almost half if you think 45.
It is.
And I don't know if Uganda, they have, or these countries have better survival rates.
I have no idea.
Or life expectancy.
Might have better life. I have no idea. I've never really looked into it. There's always something special about each of the places where I go in Uganda. They are definitely very fond of children. You'll often see people, or maybe I should first tell you this. One of my colleagues who went with me the first time, she's a petite blonde woman and she dresses very funky. And she's just awesome and outspoken. But she looks quite young because she dresses so funky. And people kept stroking her head. And we thought it's because she's blonde and she's white. So they're finding it strange now. But I'm also blonde and I'm also white and no one's touching me. So I asked I have a friend in Uganda and we asked her, but why do people keep stroking her head? And she said, it's because you dress so young, they think you're a child, so they're petting your head. And then I started noticing if, say, for example, a guardian or a parent is walking with a younger child and they meet someone in the street and they start talking, the child immediately moves their head to the side and the other adult strokes the child's head. They were just stroking children's heads everywhere, which is so sweet. There's an enormous amount of care and love for children that I saw in Uganda, which was it was beautiful. So there's something special about each country I went to that just makes me want to go back again and again.
Do you find it weird that South Africans don't really travel Africa? Because I am I'm guilty.
Yes.
I've not been to any African country. Like, I spent all the time with Africans, but I've seen more European countries than African countries.
I think it is odd that we don't explore. Hello. Oh, sorry, a cat came in. Hello, sweetheart. Want to sit on my lap? Sorry, I'm very distracted by animals, so I do think
if she does sit on your lap, then my wife will be crying for years because the cat has never done that with her.
Let's see what happens. I don't want to make your wife cry, but I really like cats. So, hey, sweetie.
I did have a podcast with this one the other day where
he was on the computer. Okay, no.
He nearly got onto the computer.
Your wife won't be sad, but you can sit in mine.
And I had to, unfortunately, throw the cat out of the screen, and I was like, oopsies. But I was sitting there, and she, because it was a heavy podcast, and I nearly lost the whole thing.
No.
So I just quickly got rid of it. Anyway.
Yeah. No, sorry, we were talking about?
Not traveling Africa.
Traveling in Africa. I do find it's odd. Could go back to people's innate racism.
Because I had a discussion today, like, with Black Label. So I do hospitality training, and I was like, I wonder if South Africa is so racist that Black Label will never be able to be a massive beer like Castle Lager.
Oh,
because
it's possible.
It's a better beer than Castle Lager.
It is.
And I'm like, and I said to them, like, because I have foreign students, and I'm like, when I grew up as a kid, Black Label, you could only have black people in the advert, in the commercial.
Wow, yeah.
I don't know if you remember that, but you just
I can't remember it.
It was just, and I was like, even Lucky Strike, I think, was advertised as a black cigarette. I don't know if it was because of black people, the black American, but I was like, I wonder if we're so racist or subtly racist that Black Label will never be able to be this massive beer.
Yes.
Because I say to them, if people visit South Africa, please tell them to try Castle Lager. It's the most famous South African beer.
Yes.
But a better one is Black Label.
Black Label, yes.
And even better, or maybe different, is Tafel Lager. But that's more going towards the European flavor or palate. And I'm like, I find that
Really odd.
interesting.
It could be racism because mostly people do travel more to European countries. But what I found interesting is, and people's responses, like my one family member who, when I told her I'm going to Uganda, her response was, ugh. I think, so, before I went to Uganda the first
And
time...
she's never been there.
She's never been there. So, also one of my colleagues told me, no, she hopes that I'll be okay in Uganda because her daughter was there and she was just miserable and it was a horrible experience for her. I took my mom on a train ride for her birthday. I can't remember the train's name now. And we sat next to people who, the man apparently also, he worked in Uganda. And I was like, oh, you're so lucky. And they were the most racist, horrible people. And they're talking about how horrible Uganda is. So I think people's perception of Africa is third world. And it's awful. And you shouldn't go there. It's just so skew. It's just so incorrect. Obviously, you have horrible poverty in every country. And you also have, it doesn't matter who's in politics. I don't trust any of them. But the people that you mingle with every day are just amazing. So I think people have this misconception of Africa because once I started, once I came back and I went on and on about how awesome it is to travel in Africa, all of a sudden I have people asking if they can help me present the workshops because they also want to go to the African countries. I'm like, yeah, no, it's mine. I'm not giving you any of these. This is all my workshops. I want to go there. Once I'm so old I can't get on a plane, then you can go. Rather, because I have no interest in going to Europe because I've been to San Francisco once. And it was the first time off the continent. And I hated it because I had no idea what the people were saying. They're speaking English. And I don't know what they're saying. I understand the accent, but I don't understand the context.
Yeah.
And they're rude. And I was very shocked to see so many white people in one place. I was like, what happened? I don't understand. This is uncomfortable and weird. And
I think on that topic, like when I lived in Poland for 2 years, it was awkwardly white.
Yes, I like that. Awkwardly white. Yes.
It's like, I think it was like the first month I stood on the street and I would say like, it took me a while to realize what made me feel awkward. And I'm like, there's no black people.
Yeah, it's
and then
very weird.
I got you would see literally once a month, once every 2 months, you would randomly see a black guy, and I would go to, I'll be like, dude, I'm also from Africa. And, and
it's very disconcerting if you're used to seeing a street look a certain way, and you go, I don't understand what's going on here.
And there's maybe some people that would listen to be like, fuck yeah, I want to be there. And we're like, cool, dude, go there.
Yeah,
like
but
if that's what you like, but it is quite weird just visually.
Yes.
It's like I grew up in Stellenbosch, and I don't know if anyone's been to Stellenbosch there, but you always see a mountain as a backdrop.
Yes.
So when I went to London, it wasn't awkward because I lived in central London, so you couldn't see the horizon.
Okay.
But once I lived in Warsaw, it was weird that you can't see a mountain anywhere.
To me, it was the other way around. I grew up in Namibia, and everything's flat.
Okay.
So I got to here, and I'm like, you can't see anywhere. How do you know where you're going? Because there's mountains everywhere. And you can't see anywhere. And the amount of green made me feel a little bit nauseous because of like, there's too much. Yeah. And the first time it rained, typical Namibian, I was ecstatically happy, and 2 weeks later I was like, I'm done. I'm over this. Everything's wet, nothing is dry. I'm miserable. It's cold. It's not the right kind of rain. But that was the other way around. Seeing a mountain the whole time was
Where's
very...
the desert? Why is it so far away?
Yeah. Like, where's the sand? Don't you have sand? And I got mugged, but they didn't get my handbag. But instead of yelling at them, I was yelling at how pissed off I was that there weren't rocks that I could throw at them. And I kept yelling, if I was in Namibia, there would be rocks for me to throw. And there's only grass. Like, no, I don't have weapons lying around.
That is so funny. But I think, like, I'm trying to think, like, why was it awkwardly white? Because I think in Portugal, you have a wider variety of ethnicities.
Yes.
In Italy,
Yeah.
in France,
Yes.
it's a little bit more mixed. Where
Yes.
Eastern Europe is,
Yeah.
it's a white part
Yeah.
of Europe, so it's quite weird. But I had a Kenyan friend, and I would hang out with him every now and again.
Yes.
Just
Just to get a taste
and I
of
could just
home.
talk to him a little bit.
Yeah.
And I went to, but I went to Charleston in South Carolina in America, and I thought I'm going to the South.
Yes.
I'm
so
going to see a
little
bunch of black people.
bit- You didn't. You had to go look for them.
Well,
Yes.
it felt so weird where I got into Charleston Airport, and the only black people I saw were working behind the counters.
Yeah.
And all the people in front leaving the aeroplane
Yeah.
were white. And then after about a week to 2 weeks there, I'm like, I'm not really seeing any black people. So I was at a meeting and I said to the one guy, your accent's really cool. Where you from?
Yes.
It's like, I'm actually from this area. I'm like, dude, where's all the black people? He's like, well, you're in
You
the
have to go
rich
in-
neighborhood here.
So yeah.
And he's
they,
like,
they still have kind of a tacit segregation that exists in the States.
so it was weird. So
think.
I went to, he's like, I'm going to go introduce you to a couple of black guys and or like black people in the neighborhood
Yes.
and blah, 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 blah. And I went crab fishing on the
Oh,
bayou.
nice.
And I said to the guys, like, I don't know if you understand it. And it was weird for me to go have this weird conversation where I'm like, because I find it weird, this term African American,
Yes.
because I feel that terms doesn't allow me to be African in a
Yeah.
way. And I'm like,
Yes.
I'm more African than you because I've
I was born here.
I
yes.
spent my whole life here,
Yeah.
you know, and it's like I don't associate as a European in any way, but I've recently come to understand that some of my challenges in life is because my thinking is a bit European.
Yeah.
You can't get away from
No.
our thinking.
Yeah. Yeah.
Inevitably comes from a certain
Yes.
place. But I said to the guys, like, it's so cool to see black people because I've been here for like
Yeah.
fucking 2 weeks and I haven't seen
Seen
any. And I
any,
thought I
and
came
it's
to the
weird.
south. And then I can't dig that. They like
Finally
this-
found my
they
people.
They had this weird way of talking. I was like, so cool. And it's just weird to be in countries that you
that are
don't.
very white, yeah. Because I don't find that same strangeness when I go to the other African countries. There it's very weird to see white people.
Is it?
But it never felt wrong or weird. It felt normal and fine. Which was funny because when we went to Ghana, we were having lunch in the department head's office, and there was a film crew that were filming parts of the workshops. And we only heard about the film crew and that they'll be filming us, and in come people, and people came in, the film crew, to have lunch with us. And my friend, we're all the presenters are white, which is also a bit awkward. But my friend leaned over to me, the one whose head gets stroked. She leaned over and she said, "They're white." I was like, we were so shocked to see a white film crew. We were like, this is so bizarre. And then one of our other colleagues, Leslie, said, "You're white too, you know?" Like, yes, we know, but this is just weird.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
It's like, I don't know if you've been to Mtata in the Eastern Cape.
No.
But that was weird for me. Like, I got raised, I thought I was at the lowest spectrum of middle class.
Yes.
And then since traveling the world, I'm
You
like, I got
realize-
raised in the top 10% of
Yes.
everything.
Yes.
Even if I, I got compared to rich cats here in Stellenbosch. I was
Yes.
super rich. Like,
Yes.
compared to them, yes, it's the lowest spectrum of middle class. But then you go to...
Yeah.
So I got raised with, this is normal. And I went to Mtata once, which is in the Eastern Cape. And I was like,
Yes.
I feel like I'm in fucking Africa. For
Yeah,
the first time in my
time.
life, I was
Yeah.
like... And there it's almost like weird to see a
Yeah.
white person.
Yes.
We just drove through the town
Yeah.
on our way to Transkei on holiday.
Yes.
And I'm like, okay,
Yeah.
it makes sense now. This is a different world around
Yeah.
here. And I was like, this is quite cool actually. Like it's so far removed from what I'm used to.
Yes. Yes. Now, I think South Africa is a weird mixture of Africa and Europe. And I think you mentioned the people who don't travel in Africa. I don't think they even travel in South Africa that much. They go to other white places.
Yeah, but I'm also guilty. Listen,
Yeah.
I'm
if I didn't
talking
have
here,
yes,
I'm guilty. Like I
judging,
went to
yeah.
Plettenberg Bay on holiday. Like I went to Knysna on holiday. I went to Franskraal and Hermanus. Like I'm one of those. So
Yeah.
again, listen. If I didn't play African drums,
you,
I would have been
yeah.
the same. Like my parents did raise me differently with like you can't be racist.
Yes.
but there's this movie called The Help. I don't know if you've ever seen
I've
this.
not seen it yet. I still want to see it.
It's quite oldish. It's
Yes.
about. I cried that whole movie. I went on a date with my wife, and she was my girlfriend at that point in London, and we watched this movie. And I'm not lying to you.
Yeah.
I cried this whole movie,
Oh.
and she didn't understand it because she doesn't know black people. She never
Yeah.
met them.
So
And-
she was, why is this?
And I was just like,
Yeah.
our gardener,
Yeah.
he worked for my father and he worked for my grandfather,
Yeah.
and he always had a separate cup. He had
Yes.
separate cutlery.
It's ridiculous.
He had a separate toilet, and
Yeah.
my parents were like the advanced
Yes.
liberals, and I don't know, that's the way I got raised. Again, no right or wrong, but
Yeah.
I got raised like that. And if I didn't play African drums, I wouldn't have hung out with
That
black people.
exposure,
And I wouldn't have known Muslim culture.
Yes.
I wouldn't have known the Rastafarian culture, real Rastafarians,
Yes.
real coloureds,
Yeah.
and all of that. So I'm lucky I by accident. So I don't want to sit here and judge.
No.
Because I understand that it's not
Yeah.
always racism. Sometimes it's just. There's a motorbike outside. Sometimes it's just you weren't exposed to something.
No,
So
yeah.
it's almost like if you've never had a curry, you can't blame someone if their eyes are watering when they have curry.
Yes.
So if you put someone suddenly between
Yeah.
a certain culture and they feel awkward,
Yeah.
you can't blame
Blame
them.
them.
Both sides here.
Absolutely. No, I agree. And it's also if I wasn't by the nature of my work, if the university weren't sending me to all these, I would not have had that experiences. So I feel I'm very blessed. Although even before that, my dream has always been to just take a year off, get a really old Toyota Hilux bakkie, and travel up Africa, hitting as many countries as I can, and then traveling back, going through the other countries. So I've always wanted to travel Africa. I've never really been interested in the other continents. I'm like, I don't know what they have. Which is probably racist on my part as well. I have a colleague, one of my colleagues, she always says, Selene, you're racist towards white people. And I go, but they deserve it. But they don't. And trying to understand where people come from as well. But it's, what do I want to say? So I wouldn't have had that opportunity to have those experiences. On the other hand, I have very few white friends. It's just.
But is it what I had in London in the sense of I went to London to have new experiences? So I made a point that if you were South African and I heard you on the train, I would say nothing.
Yes.
Because I was scared you wanted to talk to me and wanted to be my friend. And
yes.
if
And you didn't want friends from South Africa, you wanted friends.
You could have been the most gorgeous girl in the woman. As soon as I heard you South African, I would not be interested. And I would take a uglier girl, but she's a foreigner.
Yes.
So it's a bit like so self-critical. Is it the element of that you're so self-critical and you stay away from that? Or
It
is
might
it
be,
something like...
It's. I think it's part of being self-critical and critical of your own culture, but also I never really fit in.
Okay.
So I think I never fit into Afrikaans culture, and it's.
But
and I still don't fit in, and I don't find points of connection with people from my own culture. And I usually feel judged and excluded. So then I just don't bother.
So you say not all your peers were listening to heavy metal and watching The Exorcist?
No, they wouldn't. That would be. It would still be weird for some of my friends. Although the friends that I have now are just freaking awesome. So Rose and Astrid, we are Dracula fans, and
so let's just give a shout out to Astrid.
Hey Astrid, and to Rose. Rose is still talking about Dracula. Astrid and I created a monster with that's all. So. And also, but I don't have the friends that I have. We have the same values and things, and we have connection points that I don't have with people from many people from my own culture.
Yeah,
and I think part of it is it's not that the people from my own culture are bad people. Most of the times, they're not even aware of their own racism, and they don't like to be called out on it. And as I've been raised, I don't stay quiet. So I immediately lose friendships. And then it's just easier to be friends with people of color.
Yeah.
And with a lot of my friends are also Muslim. Just, they don't judge me. And we have the same values. And
Yeah.
and I constantly have to be aware of my own racism as well. I constantly have to think, is what I'm thinking and saying, can that be construed as racist? I have to constantly be aware of
Because
that underlying possibility.
The interesting thing is like stereotypes.
Yes.
It's not real, but it is.
Yes.
But it's the
Because
way.
I'm not talking about my own culture as if it's an homogenous culture with one type of person in it, which it's not.
But I read this interesting article on The Guardian the other day about a guy that's about 55. He is a British guy, but he's a black British guy.
Okay.
I think so. And I think a lot of black British citizens are from the Caribbean background.
Okay.
And he said he realized the racism or the subtle racism where he went on a lot of dates where the women were like, I want to see if black men are really as good in bed as
treating them as objects but not as a human
type
being.
of thing.
Yeah.
So, and I was like, that was that was interesting.
Yeah.
But again, it's interesting to think of, am I stereotyping? Listen, I am fucked up. I am retarded. I do make a lot of mistakes.
Yes.
I am unconsciously racist. And there are certain things I like more and certain things I don't like more. I think it's just that... I think a good way to maybe look at it is, given that you would spend time with this human for a month, and you're stuck on an island with them, at the end of the month, will you see them as an equal?
Yeah.
And if not, then you're probably racist.
Yes.
And if you see them as an equal, you've overcome certain cultural barriers and...
Yes.
Because it's very weird, this racist verse. Because the thing I wrote down here is that you said with your friends that doesn't realize... Fuck, if we had to transcribe my podcast and look at my grammar, I wonder sometimes...
No, don't worry, my grammar sometimes falls completely flat. When I write, it's fine. When I talk, I go like, yeah, that was wrong. But okay, we'll...
So my challenge is I speak Afrikaans, I speak English, but I'm predominantly English, but my Afrikaans fucks up my grammar in English.
Oh,
and then sometimes I try to speak Polish to my wife, and then that messes up. And then at work I try to speak Xhosa, and then suddenly I'm like...
Everything just becomes...
And they all work a little bit. If people don't know that they're racist, or they do certain behavior that is racist, does that absolve them of their behavior?
Because people need to think.
Okay.
Like in the meeting where they used words like minorities and those people, really nice people who use the terms, they were completely unaware of how it translates. One of them said to me she wasn't referring to black people, she was referring to deaf people. I said, so calling deaf people minorities is okay? And she was like, oh, I don't know. And I was like, but just think. If you're constantly thinking and critiquing, it doesn't absolve them. There's an expectation that people should think for themselves, or at least maybe I'm too harsh, but I expect people to think for themselves. I expect people to listen, because oftentimes my black colleagues or people of color would stay quiet because they feel it's not worth saying anything, because they're going to get... The people aren't going to listen to them. They're just going to try and defend their racism by claiming they're not racist and that what they're saying is not racist. That refusal to acknowledge. That's why I said the more subtle racism is worse than overt racism. Because it's more difficult to make people see that what they're saying is and thinking and the way they're behaving is not okay. And that they have to critically think about their behavior and language.
So the question I have, what exactly about the word minorities makes it offensive?
Well, black people aren't minorities
But
in South
like-
Africa. But with the deaf people.
So because the deaf people, it's a small
Yes,
group.
it is a small community.
But I'm just trying to say,
Yeah.
let's say, for
Let's say,
example,
yeah.
if someone's listening,
Yes.
I'll give my 2 cents in a second.
You
But
can.
let's say someone's listening and
Yes.
they're like, but what do you mean it's offensive to call black people minority, which in South Africa they're not?
Yes.
But let's say you talk about,
Deaf people.
a certain demographic within a demographic, then you might call black people a minority.
Yeah.
But
So at our work, they're definitely a minority because
Yeah.
university hardly reaches BE level.
yeah.
It's on the lowest level, so it's not really.
But talking about deaf people, they are a minority.
They are, yes.
Or why can't we just call them a small group?
A small group would be better. I think words have connotations and meanings. So minority has the connotation of there's a dominant group that you have to conform to, and then you have a minority that it's the difference between integration and inclusion. We include you, but we keep you in your little separate bubble. We're the majority. We decide everything, and you have to conform to us. But so calling them a small group or just calling them deaf people, they don't have a problem with being called deaf people. It's a whole culture, and it's a
Because they can't hear you, so they don't
that
care.
could be one of the reasons they don't have a problem with that. But so it's not as bad as calling black people a minority. It's terrible doing that in South Africa, but
Because where does intent come into this whole thing? Because I think
now it gets philosophical.
no, but it's,
yes,
I think it's a valid point because
Yes.
I am super critical
Yes.
of everyone, and my wife will tell you the person I'm most critical of is myself.
Yes.
I hold myself to the highest regard, and the smallest mistake I beat myself
Yeah.
up. So if people listen to this and they're like, Jesus, this guy's a fucking dick, be like, don't worry, I'm a dick to myself.
yes.
I really
you've got this.
So please, if I say anything, just be aware. But
Yeah.
I don't want to bash people
No.
that they have to have intent to be racist. I'm not saying there needs to be intent.
No.
Some people are just
Oblivious.
subtly
And
oblivious
naive, like you say.
and naive.
Yeah.
And if you had to point it out to them in a nice way, because I know this, my
Yes.
wife is one of those. She does
Yeah.
something, and I told her a few times bluntly, not cool.
Yeah.
And then she'll be indignant in the sense that, how do you dare you think I have
Yes.
any bad intention?
Yes.
And I'll be like, well, what you did was not cool. It's like, yeah, but you're working from the point that I did it on purpose.
Yeah.
I didn't know that in your culture that's not acceptable. And
Yes.
she taught me that being Eastern European is something. There's
Yes.
a different way of doing
Yes.
shit.
And thinking and
So intent for
Yeah.
me comes into play
Yes.
sometimes.
yeah.
But it's not an excuse the second or third time. I don't know.
Yeah.
What's your take on it?
I agree with you. I think one has to take into consideration intent. The problem is, even though there is their intention to be inclusive and kind, or is their intention to show people how, kind of that help Africa mentality. Like, look at what a good white person I am. I'm going to help in a patronizing way. I'm going to help these poor Africans. The intent isn't bad, but the intent isn't pure either. The intent is a mixture of I want to help, but also I want to show what a good person I am. And the moment you call someone out on it, they need that indignation. They need to let go of that, and they need to listen to the people who tell them that's not okay and why it's not okay. One thing I do, I'm very, very harsh with my own people. I'm really unforgiving, and I know I have a friend who's the way I'm always astounded at how gently and kindly and beautifully she goes around with racists and homophobes, and she wins them over. I go, my words are more like a smack against the head, and it has no effect. So my calling out people isn't very effective.
Yeah.
Hers is a lot more. She changes behaviors, but I get angry, and So
Yeah,
I need to work on that.
Yeah, well, I listened to I don't know if people know Joe Rogan Experience. It's a guy from America that does a podcast, and mine is a little bit
Yeah.
based on his. You get people and you talk for
Yes.
2-3 hours, and he had a guy on that. It's a black guy, a musician, and he's got it's about 200 people to leave the KKK. By just being cool to
Oh,
them
wow.
and having a conversation with them and becoming their friend and slowly
Yeah.
showing them, but he's not an animal. So you can search Joe Rogan
I definitely will.
convincing to leave the KKK. Something
Oh,
if you
nice.
type that in and you're going to get a guy that
Yes.
explains how he's
Yeah.
convinced people.
Yes.
And they are different. I think the phrase is there's different ways to skin a cat.
Yes. It's a horrible phrase, but yes, there is.
And I think mine... Someone told me once, and I read this in a book. It's a book called Alcoholics Anonymous,
Oh, okay.
and they say in that book, if you are angry at someone, you are to blame
Yes.
because you allow them to make you angry. And a lot of times, I think I call people retards, and I'm like, but the biggest retard is me because I
Yeah,
allow these people
you
to upset
protect
me.
that, yeah.
And I'm like, what is my goal for voicing my opinion? And is the way I'm going about it accomplishing my goal? And
Yeah.
most of the time I would say no.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I hope that at some point I become more mature
Yeah.
in certain ways. But I also say there are people necessary like me.
I agree, yes.
We need
Kind
the
of
diversity
directly-
of people that just
Yes.
harshly call you a cunt.
Yes, and sometimes you need someone to just shock you out of your complacency and thing. Also, I think because of the way I grew up, I constantly had to fight. So I'm permanently in fight mode. I don't know how to be in a different mode. And I went to a workshop where they asked the question, so what makes you get up in the morning? And my answer was sheer rage, anger, because I know there's going to be some crap and I'm going to have to fight. So I wake up angry. But that kept me going. So granted, I burnt out, so I don't think it kept me going that well, but it kept me going for 10 years. So thank you.
Interesting thing, because it's something for me. I've lost a lot of anger this last few years.
That's
And
awesome.
The problem with
Thanks.
that is it's been a big driving force in my life.
Yeah, it gets you up, it keeps you going.
A lot of the things I've accomplished has been in the process or in the form of showing a middle finger to people. So, for
Yes.
example, my university degree. Like
Yes.
I went and they're like, if you didn't get a B or an A average or this or that, then it will probably take you 4 years to get your degree. So it was a bit like I'll
fuck
show
you,
you.
yes.
And I didn't go to my classes and I still got my
You still
degree.
got your degree. Don't tell anyone. Go to your classes.
Listen, I went...
Go to your classes. Shh.
If
No, just
I didn't go to at least half of my classes over 3 years,
Don't
and I
tell
still
people
got.
that.
If you want to know how to Jippo Stellenbosch University, you come talk to me.
I went to all my classes. Go to all your
I
classes.
didn't cheat on any of the exams,
Which is good.
but you don't need to go. But psychological
I
test will
understand.
show that my intelligence is above average.
Yes,
Thank
I'm
you very
pretty
much.
sure of that after
Thank you
hearing
very
that you
much.
couldn't go.
But I also have, I'm a bit like a rat. I will find a way through the maze.
Yes,
I,
whether it's chewing through the maze
I'm
instead
tenacious,
of or climbing
and
over.
I'm very stubborn. I don't know
Yes.
how to fail,
Yes.
and I wrote a lot of second rewrites. The rewrites. I
Okay,
had one
yes. So you
Dean's
learned
exam.
from the-
You know, I don't know,
Yes.
but I don't know why we went down this road. But
We were talking about rage, getting us
Oh, yeah.
up in the morning.
so a lot of even my podcast, in a way, is. It's a form of rebelliousness
Yeah.
because I got into heavy metal as a young kid.
nice.
I think I was 10 years old and my brother introduced me to Metallica. And then I got introduced to Korn. I was a really big Korn fan.
nice.
And then later it became a Rage Against the Machine. And then
Yes.
it got a bit to like Slipknot and things. And
Yes.
a big part of my life has been rebelliousness
Yeah.
or rebellion. And even my podcast, I'm like, what's the so in the young me, dreadlocks, dodgy
Yes.
beard, pants hanging low, and heavy metal.
Yes.
That was my rebellion. As a more mature adult, a podcast is my form of rebellion. It's me expressing my thoughts and feelings, and by talking to people like you, it helps me to channel that and put it out to the world. And it's a healthier form of rebellion. And even my my exercise, everything's based on anger. And since losing a lot of my anger, I'm not as productive.
Oh, that's interesting, yeah.
And I'm like a bit more, not sloth-like, I feel lazy, but it's just because I had so much anger. I need to exercise 3 hours a day, and it's like this and that, and I need to...
It drives you, that adrenaline.
And since losing it, it's like, well, maybe I should start having kids, because I have love, you know?
Yes, like, I have that too, I don't have just anger.
It's like I like spending time with my animals, you know? Let me grow a plant and a garden. And it's like, I had to find out new ways to inspire and motivate me and get me out of bed.
Yeah.
But now there's some negativity. Since this trauma of a couple of weeks ago, I'm back at kickboxing.
Yeah.
And I'm back at like protect myself. And it's a fascinating thing, this anger. Channel it in the right way.
I had a therapist who said anger is just a masking emotion for fear.
Exactly.
So, so it's because of your trauma, now you're doing kickboxing to try and defend yourself because you feel attacked.
And what scares me most is my willingness to inflict damage to someone in order to save another person.
Yes.
It terrifies me that I'm willing to do it, and I was waiting to do it.
Yeah.
And I am super grateful that through my security training that I got in London and being very obsessed with the army, I dealt with the situation without actually having to put myself within 10 meters of the individual.
Oh, wow.
But it terrified me that I was willing to go there.
I think that's also why I'm so harsh with people from my own culture, that I'll inflict pain on them in order to defend people I consider my friends and closer. I'm closer to them than I am to people from my own culture. So in order to defend them, I have to hurt this other person, emotionally and verbally. So that, and I hear what you're saying.
Yeah, and definitely behind a lot of my anger is insecurity. Like, listen, I am this guy, and a lot of people look at me and they judge me very quickly. They pigeon-hole me as whatever. And it's like, you know what? I feel a bit like crying today.
Yes.
Because I nearly chopped someone's leg off with a panga a week ago. And I'm like, I would do it, but I would go to therapy for the rest of my life because of it. And it's like people judge me on the way I look, and I'm like, I'm just, for some reason, there is a lot of insecurity, there is a lot of fear, and a lot of times behind my anger is sadness.
Yeah.
Let's say, for example, my relationship with my brother. If I'm angry with him or about something, it's because I'm sad that it's not what I want it to be or what it could have been.
Yes.
If I'm angry with South Africa, which I am, it's because I love this place.
Yes, and you want it to be good.
You know what I mean? Yes. So a lot of my anger is sadness. It's just the way that it comes out.
And helps you cope with the fear and sadness.
Yeah, but it's harder to be sad than to be angry.
It is. Anger gives you a false sense of power.
It's easier to smoke crack than go to therapy.
Yes. Don't smoke crack. I feel like we need to add like little blurbs. I've been trying to be a bit more chill, but I have noticed that I'm not as productive as I used to be, but I am more relaxed. And after the burnout, I really have no fucks left to give. I have none. Work has taken every fuck I have, and there's none left.
Yeah.
And for me, some people went like, oh, that's sad because you're so passionate about your work. I said, I'm still passionate about it. I just don't care anymore.
Yeah.
And that's actually a good space to be because I care too much. And now I'm like, whatever, until I get really angry and then I go, all hell bitch on their asses again.
But you know what's weird with like this podcast, I didn't really have an idea, but I had an idea we're going to talk about language and culture, but we're talking about like, it's basically like a therapy session, but I'm loving it. I'm like,
too.
How many times? And I don't really know her. I met her for 2 hours a month ago, and this is what I do my podcast, because where else would you have this environment where you can just talk like this? But sorry, my brain's just rapid firing. But I just got a complete blank.
Oh no, I'll try to think of something.
It's just talking about this whole anger stuff. It's just it's fascinating. It's very weird for me to see as an adult. It's also weird. Like I'm 35,
Yeah.
so it's a bit like it's dad age.
Yes.
And without all this anger, it's like I love walking on the park with my cats.
Yes.
I love spending time with the dogs, and
Yeah.
it's weird not having it, this anger.
Anger.
But it's coming back quite easily.
Oh, joy. Yeah, you spend two minutes in traffic and I'm yelling at people and throwing signs and screaming. And then at the same time, I'm letting everyone who wants to come in, let them in kindly.
Yeah.
And then when someone doesn't use their indicator, then I scream at them. And then I tell the pedestrian, you can go, hi. It's like driving with multiple personality disorder.
It's weird to see the place we live. Like my therapist told me, you're just living in the wrong town. It's not the most spiritual town.
No.
And I said to him, the sad part is Stellenbosch. I'm like 8th generation Stellenbosch.
Yes.
This is my home. It's not like I can just be like, oh, I don't like Stellenbosch.
And
Let
then
me
you
fucking
leave.
go to Grabouw.
Yeah.
Or
Yes. Yeah.
or like Swakopmund or
Yeah.
something. I'll probably be happier there, but it's not my house.
Yes.
And I think it's reconciling what's house, and there's this weird thing of life that just things change.
Yeah.
Like this Harvey Weinstein thing. I don't know if you follow
Lord.
it.
I did.
This fucker just got sentenced to 23 years in prison.
I hope he spends all 23 in prison.
But you know what's hilarious? Not
What?
really hilarious.
Yes.
But then the mitigating factors were, but he's been so successful. They literally said, because of his achievements, can we maybe give him a couple of years less?
So angry, like that has nothing to do with the issue. It makes me, I get livid with that. I'm like, oh, that shame, he's sick. He's not sick. I'm pretty sure he's pretending.
Yeah.
And even if he isn't and he really is sick, he didn't give a crap about his victims. Oh, it just pisses me off so much.
Yeah, so...
Really makes me angry again.
Yeah, just very interesting. Very interesting. Heavy metal. I want to
Love
talk
heavy
about that
metal,
because
yes.
I don't know how many people I'm going to speak to that actually likes
Likes
heavy metal.
I think when people look at me, they don't think,
Heavy metal.
no,
I
not at all.
I think of Baba Maal and Nurukane and some other
Yes,
African
and
artists.
or some classical music. That's what, because I studied music as well, so people immediately assume. And I didn't really listen to metal at school because at that time we were still in Christian churches and metal was from the devil. Although I remember they still had Veld School. I don't know if you had to go through that.
No.
Oh, it was awful.
When were you born?
1979. So I'm only
79.
5 years older than you.
6 years. I was 85.
85, okay.
Yeah. I'm 1st of January. So
Okay, so you're already, you're a New Year's baby now. I'm next week.
Okay.
Where I turn 41.
So this is like if people listen to this podcast, which I always say no one is listening to the podcast, and especially if they do listen,
I'm
like
going to send the link to everyone and see how many friends I have left after that.
congratulations if you've reached this point at 95 minutes. But it's weird for me how I don't really associate people that were born the years that you were, because you were this like Veld School or whatever.
Yes.
We didn't have that in the
Oh,
era that
thank
I
God.
and then 5 years later, I feel like anyone born in the 90s
Yes.
are a bunch of pussies. They're like
That.
no one hardcore were born in, and I've been training some people that's been born in the 2000s now.
Oh
and
my
I'm like,
God.
And I'm
And
like,
they're getting
Jesus,
younger and younger.
I'm like, you're about to melt if I touch you, you little snowflake. No, I'm joking. I'm just being
No,
harsh
I'm
here.
just
But
trying.
I'm really just joking.
I know,
Not really,
I know.
but I am. But
Yeah, kind of, but not quite.
but I don't really relate that much to people like 80 and
And lower. Yeah.
and I don't really relate with people 90 and up.
Yeah.
Because 80 and lower were a bit racist,
But you
slightly.
just a little bit.
And then
much.
90 and up is a little bit soft at
Yeah.
spirit.
Yeah. I kind of like that about the people born in the 90s.
Yeah?
It's that gentle softness.
I called
I'm going to get into trouble for this. But I'm going to do it because maybe he won't listen this far. But the person I'm dating is actually quite a bit younger. He was born in the 90s.
No way.
I'm dead serious.
Oh,
But
great. Also.
I know. I had a gay friend, and after I started dating this guy, I go to meet my gay friend for coffee, and he comes, and when I walk in, he stands up and loudly sings. He had a beer. He goes like, "Here's to you, Mrs. Robinson." I go like, "Shh, shut up, go away." But in my defense, he lied about his age. He lied himself older, so not my fault.
Are you saying he looks terrible for his age?
No, he doesn't. Oh God, it's getting worse and worse. Forget about that. But what I like about him is his gentleness and his kindness and softness. I like that about
Yeah, listen.
his generation. It's terrible. I really
Let's
hope
say
he
you
doesn't
were
listen to
born
this.
in the.
I'm not sending him this podcast.
Let's say you were born. I know I'm a millennial. So, and when I judge millennials, I'm judging myself.
Yes.
And as we've just listened, I am very emotional. I'm not saying emotions
No,
are bad.
no.
I'm just saying when it gets the better of you.
Yes.
And I think when you are, it's one thing being naive, it's another thing just being fucking crazy and not in sync with
Yes.
reality.
Yes.
It's like, yes, it would be nice if I considered your feelings.
Yes.
And I think the challenge is today in
Mm.
my classes, I called my students a bunch of dumb motherfuckers.
Oh, shit.
And I paraphrase now.
Oh God,
And
no.
then it really offended the one girl.
Okay.
And
Well.
and I was like, why? What did I say? And then I explained to her, listen, I was giving class. I was asking you guys to do something, and 6 of you, that's the class, you all ignored me. And I told you from day one, my classes are slightly progressive. And I curse and I swear
Yeah.
because a lot of you come from good families. And when you graduate here, you're going to work for chefs that speak dirty.
Yes.
So I've
and
told
that's
you I
harsh
will
and
do
yell.
it.
Yeah.
But I said to her, what you were doing is you were ignoring me,
Yeah.
which is rude.
Yes.
So what I do is, as a more advanced teacher, I will offend you to like short circuit your
Yes,
brain, which
so
you'll
you
be
come
like,
back.
what the fuck just happened? And I'm
Yes.
like, you gave attention for the rest of the class. I was successful. I did it
Yes.
intentionally. And you are unfortunately taking it personally.
Yeah.
And listen, it is not cool that I say stuff like this. It's just, I grew up in an area when if you said that, it doesn't mean, she thought
Yeah.
I actually am calling her dumb. And she
Yes.
actually thought I'm calling her a dumb motherfucker.
Yes.
Which I was just like,
You were
come on,
just using-
guys and girls.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
It
and,
is.
and that's what I'm talking about. People that
is.
were born in that era,
Yeah.
that they're so delicate.
Yes, I understand. I hear
And I'm
that.
not saying that
Yeah.
you're supposed to be slapping me and it's acceptable.
No,
But there's
but there's-
when we talk
yeah.
about balance,
Yes.
I think
yes.
the balance is out of sync.
Yeah.
And hopefully their children will realize their parents
bit
are a bunch
more.
of pussies. And that's why the fucking Germans took over.
I think the Germans are very careful about taking over this time.
No, I'm joking.
The Germans are going, no Trump, no Trump. We're not falling for that trick again. We've learned our lesson. Shame.
You know what I'm trying
I
to
do
say.
know, yes, I do.
I'm trying
yes.
to be cutting the cake
Yes,
delicately here.
yes,
There's
yes.
good and bad in
Yeah.
everything. And I think I was just raised in a bit more of a harsher
Yeah.
era.
Yeah.
And I associate with it more because it's simpler.
It was. Yeah.
But I don't know. I find it
Yeah.
super interesting.
Because I do a bit of both. I'm immensely harsh with my colleagues and unforgiving and direct and brutal. And then with my students, I'm soft and kind and gentle. So it's just, yeah.
And then you go home to your boyfriend that's also...
Well, who's also soft and gentle, and my animals who are soft. I mean, I have a ridgeback who's supposed to be a lion hunter. She once protected a fly from the cats. So I'm like, wow. And one evening I heard something outside, and at that point I only had the ridgeback and the pit bull. So, and they barked, and I stormed out, thinking I'm looking really badass with a ridgeback and a pit bull. We didn't see anything, and I turn around and walk back to my house, and I see my reflection in the window, and it's like crazy hair, and I look slightly sleep deprived and deranged, and 2 terrified dogs cowering behind me. I was like, yeah, you're useless. Like, what the hell? So yeah, I have lots of gentle and kind beings in my life, which I think is really good for me, because I tend to be, I can be really harsh.
Just intense.
Yeah.
I think that's probably a good word.
Yes, I'm intense. I'm either very nice or really mean.
Super chill out. I'm getting obviously the super
chill out version. Yes, and I've been practicing this version a lot.
And I can imagine probably, because I'm exactly the same. Like when people see me on the podcast, they see this.
Yeah.
But they don't see the other side of me. And listen, I think a lot of the times the storm is just inside me.
Yeah.
People don't necessarily get I don't swear at people.
I also don't swear at people. I
it's
saw
just
this
part
meme
of my
vocabulary. Why can't I use? It's like someone sent a message on Facebook. You're just sprinkling your sentences with a bit of aromat. Like it's just a bit of flavor.
Maybe
you're adding.
I'm gonna show you a little meme and I'll explain it to people.
Oh, cool.
That's maybe listening or seeing this. I got this from my friend and I told him I'm having a bit of a hard day. And he sent me this.
Okay. What's out there for... Cunts everywhere, yes.
It's the scene of Lion King where little Simba is sitting with his father at the Circle of Life song. What's out there on the outskirts? And then his father, cunts, son. Cunts everywhere.
It's true. I constantly have these opposites inside me. So I firmly believe in the inherent goodness of people, that people are inherently good and kind. And then I also believe people are absolute assholes. And the human race should not exist anymore. So it goes from these extremes, but it's, yeah.
But we're all moving like in the right direction. I
think so, slowly, but
if you
yes.
consider humans as a species,
yes,
we are
we're
moving in the
better.
right direction.
We sometimes take a few steps back, but I think we are progressively going in the right direction.
One of my theories of South Africa is that it's a very young civilization.
It is.
And I think there's certain...
And a young democracy.
There's certain growing pains that comes with just existing.
Yes.
But it's then you can also say the same for America.
Yeah.
It's a very young... But then I'm like...
But they're also not growing up quick enough.
Yeah, but...
So I'm very harsh about the States as well.
Yeah, well, the thing for me about the States is there's... Is there more peace within the States than what there is within South Africa? And I would say... I don't
know.
I would say yes, but I would say if you look at white on black crime...
Yes.
Or black on white crime or it's police versus... Yeah, I would say...
Probably worse in America.
No.
Not?
Well, I would say no, it's not better.
Oh yeah, that it's worse in America.
It's worse.
Yeah.
But my theory is just, I just think my new phrase is there's too many spices in the pot in South Africa.
It could be.
Yeah?
Yeah, I told you the story when we met. I sometimes like to just piss off people for the sake of pissing them off. And I was attending a workshop, and there were 3 of us sitting during lunch at the table. So it's me, and then one of my a friend's friend who's a person of color, and then a white woman across from me. And this one friend of a friend, we were talking about the awesome places in Africa, and I was talking about the hospitality of the people and the kindness and warmth and just how awesome it is. And the white woman said, yes, but our black people are different from other countries' black people. I'm like, oh no. And I'm sitting there thinking, do I not? I was like, I said to her, yes, I agree. I said, what I've noticed, the big difference between other African countries and South Africa is that there's hardly any white people in the other African countries. I said, maybe South Africa would do people if there weren't any white people here. And the woman sitting on my right, she spat her soup everywhere from laughing, and the other one was so offended.
Yeah.
And I was like, you can't say things like that. I will piss you off. But you're right. Maybe there are too many spices. Maybe it gets a bit fucked up because there's so many races here, and if there's less white people, they will be less racist. I don't know.
Yeah,
it was a really simplified response and was purely to piss her off.
Well, listen, would I agree that some of our black culture is slightly different from other black cultures?
Maybe.
Why is it difficult to say that if I could say white African is different from European white?
No, absolutely no. The only reason I did it was because of what she was implying.
It's like the implication
and you can't go,
was
there's a black, monolithic black culture. That doesn't exist.
Yeah. I just think that, listen, it's quite simple. When I lived in Poland, there's one ethnicity. There's one religion, there's one language. It's very easy to organize it.
But it's not, isn't it boring?
No, it is, but let's just talk about organization.
Yes.
Organization is easy when there's one thing going on. And everyone has a rough framework that's similar. We all believe in, let's say, the concept of time, because this is really, there's different variations of time. So in my background, 13 minutes past 12 and 25 seconds literally means 25 seconds, 13 minutes past 12. Where if you say 12 o'clock to someone, it might mean 11 or
especially in the Western Cape. We'll get together at 7 o'clock. I arrive at 7 o'clock and by 9 people start coming. So, So even if you just take the concept of time and there's different interpretations of it, that creates chaos. It does.
And that creates a lot of emotion and frustration. That's just time. Never mind love, respect, honesty, blah, 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 blah.
But chaos can be good as well.
Listen, it's a lot of fun. It's just not good for harmony. Chaos and harmony doesn't necessarily go together. I don't want to say it doesn't. I'm just saying chaos and harmony doesn't necessarily go together.
Synonyms, yes.
It's like saying that there's no one that listens to heavy metal that is calm. Like, I chill out when I listen to heavy metal.
Me too. It calms me down.
I used to fall asleep to it. But generally, I would say people that listen to classical music is a little bit more in control of the emotions than most heavy metal musicians. I would say...
Also,
I'm not saying always, I'm just saying generally. And so for me, the more spices in the pot, generally the more difficult it is to live in the same way. Because
to organize.
You and your sister that got raised by the same parents can have a disagreement.
We can, and we're two completely different people.
And you got raised by the same parents.
We are extremely different.
So imagine you got raised by different parents, different cultures, different viewpoints. You can just imagine it doesn't create harmony if there's too many spices in the pot.
Maybe it's then not the many spices. Maybe it's then the spices listening to each other. I think listening goes a very long way.
They do or they don't listen to each other?
I think not listening to each other creates the conflict. It's not necessarily that there's such a big variety. If everyone who comes from different places listen to each other, really listen, I think that would... So it's not chaos by default because there's so many spices. It's chaos because the spices aren't listening to each other.
Are they intelligent enough to even understand each other when they do listen?
I think, spices obviously can't listen to each other, but I think people can.
I don't know. I don't know if people are clever enough.
Maybe.
Oh, and I'm using an umbrella term. I don't know if people are as clever as we give them credit.
Well, again, I have these conflicts inside me. Part of me goes like, I can't believe the human race is still around. They're freaking stupid. And another part goes, people know how to organize themselves and control themselves and they can communicate. So I have this absolute idealistic view of how people are, but then I also think like, how the fuck did we make it here? Like, I can't believe the coronavirus hasn't killed everyone already, because come on, people are stupid. But then I have this constant conflict when it comes to people.
And I'm just playing devil's advocate here, because if you can convince me of some stuff, then hopefully I can change my opinion. But it's like, listen, if I were to be the CEO of Apple and of Google and start paying tax, then I would go out of business within 10 years and millions of people around the world will lose their income.
Jobs,
So I can admit that, yes, in an idealistic, naive world, my way is better. And I wonder, like, we have survival instincts built into DNA. Any living organism have survival instincts. And being selfish is a survival instinct. So taking food out of someone's mouth and then putting it into your child's mouth, that is a survival mechanism.
Yeah.
And I think as a caveman, it's quite easy to see we live in conflict. And then there are weirdos like us that think, but if all the cavemen just live together and farm together, then it would be so much more beautiful.
Great.
And I'm
Yes.
like, yeah, but if the zebras and the lions were sleeping in the same cave, that would be awesome too.
Yes.
You know what I mean? It's like, how
I
far
know,
are we going to
yes.
go with this idealistic
It also
outlook?
depends on whose theory, because then there's a theory that we evolved to be more of a herd and take care of each other, but there's also the theory that selfishness is part of evolution as well. I don't know the answer.
It's interesting, so when I critique, I also want to say I know that I don't have the answer, and it's also not cool to critique and not. It's like I listened to a podcast the other day. I'm big into my mixed martial arts and UFC,
nice.
and they were arguing about weight cutting that's not working. So the fighters they lose. So let's say you're 100 kilograms. The day before the fight,
I've heard that.
you weigh yourself,
and then you do
try to
everything
lose as
so
much
that you can
weight.
be in a different weight class.
So you fight at 85 kilograms, but
Yes.
you're actually 100, and then you rehydrate, and then you fight.
Yes.
You're 100 kilograms.
Yes. You're in the different
It's
weight. I've
very
heard of that.
unhealthy.
Yes.
So the two guys were having a discussion on the podcast, and the one's like, yeah, but you can't just say it doesn't work. Give me an alternative. So I also want to be like, I don't want to just talk here and say it doesn't work.
Yes.
I want to also look at the flip side. And listen,
Yeah.
if maybe there were 6 million humans like me,
Yes.
then maybe the species will be extinct in 10
Yeah.
or 100 years.
Yes.
And because they were selfish people,
It survived. Yeah.
I
a
think
whole
there's a flip
mixture.
side to everything.
It is. I don't think there are any answers.
And again, I need to remind myself, it's like Afrikaners. Like I joke
It's
of
not a
them.
monolithic.
They are
Yes.
the last 2 podcasts has been Afrikaans, and I actually
Yes.
really enjoyed it. I was like,
Yes.
it's weird. I really enjoyed it, and I want to maybe do more.
Yeah.
It's like Christian people. I very quickly want to make fun of them.
Yes.
And I'm like, but there's amazing Christian
They
people out
are.
there. The cool ones, you just never know they're Christian.
Yeah.
Because they don't tell you.
Yes. They're just really nice people. I always when people find out I'm not a Christian, they're completely shocked and they go, but how do you know how to be a good person? I'm like, it's not rocket science.
Yeah.
Like, it's just, yeah. But I know horrible Christians, and then I know absolute gems who are.
And it's always like
Lovely
the
people.
ones that advertise them as Christians.
They're
Are they
the-
Christians, actually? Are they
Yeah.
not just wolf in sheep's
It's that,
skin?
yeah. It's again that surface. I say something, but the substance underneath it
Yeah.
doesn't quite gel
What's
with
the-
the facade.
What's the intention of...
Yeah, why are you telling me?
Because I lived
Yeah.
in Europe for 6 years, and I
Yes.
came back and I started doing business again here, and suddenly people were telling me in business meetings that they're Christian. I was like,
Why are you telling me this? Are you going to cheat me out of millions?
and then I'm like, am I supposed to tell them I'm not?
Yes,
like-
like, why are people saying this?
Why are we talking about religion suddenly? And I found that very strange being back in South Africa in Stellenbosch.
Yeah.
And yeah, it's interesting. But there's a flip side. And I'm like, and then I realized, but the people that were saying that in the business meeting and ended up stealing my money, they weren't Christians.
Yes, they were trying to get you to trust you. Trust them by telling
They
you
just
they're
know how
Christians.
naive Christians are, the real
Yes,
Christians.
Yeah, and
'Cause
also they think that's a marker that we won't cheat you, and they're telling you that to make you trust them.
And I fell for it.
Oh,
Well, I didn't fall for it. The reason I fell for it was
Yes.
because I phoned a family friend because she introduced me to the
Oh,
guy. And I've
okay.
known her 30 years. And I'm like,
Yes.
listen, can I trust this guy? She's like, my company has spent a lot of
Oh,
money.
no.
And then it ended up, well, he stole a fucking R1,000,000 from them. And I'm
Oh,
like, that's why I
no.
fell for it. But so it wasn't because of that. I don't know.
no.
I just, I think we're somehow kindred spirits where
Yes.
we struggle with ourselves and the world
We
around
do,
us.
and we overthink things and look at the different sides. And yeah.
I'm lucky that I have a younger wife and you have a
Yes,
have a younger,
younger boyfriend,
boyfriend, and that is balancing everything
It
out.
does. It does. It keeps
My
us sane.
wife has re-established faith in humanity for me, in the sense
yeah.
of she's just a good person.
Yeah.
She cries when she sees certain movies.
Aw.
Like we went to the choir today and she was in
Yes.
tears at one point because
Oh,
people
sweet.
just...
Yes.
And it's not me.
Yeah.
I'm like... that's just
Whatever.
that's just not me. And I think my wife has reestablished a lot of good things in my life.
Yeah.
Just because she's naturally a beautiful person,
Oh.
and she doesn't have as many issues as me.
Okay.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I just have fucking issues with everything.
And she's the
Like,
calm,
Someone
safe,
might give
safe
me a
place.
present. I'll be like, "What's the fucking catch?
Yes, why are you doing this?
What do you want from me?"
Yes. Are you going to steal my money again?
So yeah,
Yeah.
but I see we're approaching 2 hours.
Okay.
If we use the full podcast and you don't want to eliminate or delete or edit anything,
That's fine. I don't think you have to. I say cautiously, not being sure what.
I'm in the lucky position where my immigration papers are in,
Oh, well done.
so
good,
I can
good for you.
pretty much say anything I want and be like, "Fuck it."
Yeah.
Plus,
I still say whatever I want and go like, oh crap, I hope this doesn't have consequences.
yeah, I did that today, and I'm like, I feel bad, but it's like, you know what's weird? Something that bothers me, and I had it on my previous podcast as well. I had a podcast with a guy was called Jonathan.
Yes.
And he used to be into jiu-jitsu martial arts.
Oh, nice.
And he went to a gym in Cape Town, and he didn't like it. And then he didn't want to say the name of the gym 10 years later because he's a bit like, it's not cool. But I'm like,
Been
why
10
are we not
years.
allowed to be honest?
Yeah.
It's very weird. There's
And
something
only
within-
behind closed doors be honest and say,
Shouldn't we? Because normally when somebody tells, I call it hard truth. I saw it
Yeah.
in a movie or in a series. I don't know. Maybe even Games of Thrones or somewhere. They call it a hard truth. A
Yeah.
hard truth is difficult to hear. And if someone says that, automatically I'm supposed to say thank you because it took a lot of courage for you to say that.
yeah.
But
people become really
And for here,
defensive.
it's like, listen, just go be a doos behind my back, please.
Yes.
I don't want you to be
To be
honest
honest.
with me and tell me what you think. Just tell me I'm amazing and go fucking badmouth me to everyone.
Yes.
And I find it quite weird, especially because I lived in Poland, where you're very honest.
Yeah.
And I came back here and it's like, dude, you're too
You
honest,
can't-
man.
It might also be, I have Dutch and German family and they're very direct. So I think it's also that where they don't mean it to be offensive or rude. It's just they shoot straight.
It's just the way it is.
And when I'm straight with people and they go like, oh, that's not nice and don't do it like that. I'm like, why? Because I deliberately do not use tact. And I deliberately I'm not diplomatic. Because I realize when I am, people deliberately misconstrue what I say. And I don't want there to be any misunderstanding what my intentions are or what I mean. So I've completely lost the skill to be, I'll have to practice again, to be diplomatic and tactful. I just do not do it at all.
Yeah.
And might be the same that it's being direct, it's not meant to be hurtful.
Well, someone told me, honesty does not equate brutality.
No, you don't have
And
to be brutally honest.
So
you can just be honest.
He's just like, dude, you can be honest, but just stick to honesty.
Yeah, don't be
And
mean about
Just
it.
don't be mean about it. Also choose the right moment and the right time and in the right way.
I don't
And I'm
always do
like, I'm
that.
like, Jesus, people are so fucking sensitive. I'm like, let's reverse the table. How would I respond?
Yeah.
And how would I want to do it? And I'm like, okay, maybe fair enough.
But that's the weird thing. If someone is that direct and honest with me, I go, oh, okay, let me think about that. And I'm not offended when they're that honest or hurt. Because I've had people tell me stuff directly to my face and go, okay. And then I think about it and then I think, oh, maybe you're just being an ass or you're having a bad day. Or actually I have a point.
Yeah, I just again I would assume people are different, and we
Yeah,
need,
you can't treat everyone the same way. And I hate that Bible verse of treat people the way you would like to be treated.
Yeah.
Who says someone wants to be treated the way you want to be treated?
People
They might
would-
want to be treated differently.
Yeah, I don't know. Like, it's interesting. Like, I think one of my problems. Listen, maybe this is for you as well, because one of my problems has been that I treat everyone equal.
Okay, but equality is not equity. Or, yeah,
Well, the problem is not everyone is as intelligent as me,
that's also true.
and
You sound like my boyfriend.
and it goes both ways. I a lot of times have to be like, listen, you are too intelligent for me to understand this, and I'm going to trust you because you're just very clever.
Yes.
And I know enough to know that you are right.
Yes.
And sometimes I'm not sure you're right, but I just know that you're smarter than me.
Yes.
But then I must be the same sometimes where like these people are just not.
I had one of my. She's also a friend and a colleague. She once told me in meetings I need to stop saying "fuck people." It's not rocket science, because maybe for them it is. I was like, "What? No, they're not stupid." She was like, "Some people are." I'm like, "Oh, really?"
Yeah.
And she told me to stop saying that because I'm making them feel stupid.
Yeah.
I said, "But it is stupid, not them. Just." Discussing something small for 2 hours that we could have done in a minute.
Yeah, but I always say again, yes, it's primitive, but why is it regularly upsetting me?
Yes.
At what point am I going to learn from my own thought process? But my new thing is, we assume or accept, and we can easily acknowledge that people have physical capability and physical talents. Why is it so difficult to say that people have one, emotional capabilities and talents, 2, mental capabilities and talents, and 3, spiritual?
Yeah.
Because I listened to a few athletes the other day. I saw them. I'm like, I think they play. I want to be careful. They play sport for a national team.
Okay. I won't ask.
And I was like, I've been thinking for a while to get them on the podcast, one of them. And I overheard the conversation these two gents were having. I was like, I would rather talk to a fucking piece of stone than talk to these two. There's not really much going on. No. But we are easily acknowledging the physical capabilities and we're willing to give them R1 million a year for that. And it's like, well done. And it's like, cool. And they're happy with it. We're happy with it. But why can't we do it on emotion? And even spiritual. This thing of feeling bad, guilty, the capability for spirits to connect, regardless of ethnicity, language, religion. I just don't think some people have that capability.
And also I think it also, as much as I'm listening to you talk now, I keep using the language of deficit when I refer to my colleagues about what they're lacking and what they're not doing, and I'm harsh with them. But I will never, ever think of my students as unintelligent, as lacking. I always look at what do they bring. They have skills and values, but I don't give my colleagues the same treatment.
Patience and tolerance in one area.
And none in the other.
It's interesting, like...
Because even if someone isn't particularly smart, I will go, but they still bring something to the table. So maybe they'll bring, and I look for that. But I don't look for that in my colleagues.
It's like road rage. Where does it come from? Does it come from me or does it come from the other person driving like an idiot?
Yes.
It comes from
or maybe
me.
A little bit of both.
Yeah, I know. But it's like I know when I'm going onto the road that there's going to be some assholes and they're not going to follow.
My mom keeps telling me, but maybe they're looking for a place, or it was a momentary lapse of... I mean, I've made mistakes when driving, so...
My friend Douglas always says, when other people on the road make a mistake, it's intentional. But when he makes a mistake, it's an accident.
Yes.
And I recently started driving for some reason with other people on the road.
Okay.
And I've come to realize that people are just different.
Yeah.
Like, I drove with them and it's like I'm cringing.
Yes.
I'm like, I don't really want to drive with you ever again.
Yes.
But the word I used earlier is intent.
Yes.
They're not doing it intentionally.
No.
Plus,
they think it's fine.
My wife keeps on saying, I've never had an accident.
Yes.
You know what I mean?
Yes.
And it's like, you've had.
Yeah.
And I'm like, but it wasn't my fault. She's like,
yeah, you still had an accident.
You've had an accident. And I'm like, so again, I think there's this flip side to everything. And I'm hoping that, let's say I'm going to live to 80, that the years 40 to 80 is just going to be a bit more mature.
I think people mellow with age.
Where I do see the flip side and I don't take everything as...
seriously.
As serious. And but I do know that... it is also just who I am, and I've come to
Yeah.
make peace with it. And again, fuck you.
Growing.
If you don't like it,
Yes,
go fuck yourself.
That is.
Come check me out at Metallica
Heaven
concert, and you're gonna enjoy my company.
Yeah.
And I always say to people, like I had a security company that didn't do nothing with when this father was.
Oh, yeah.
There's 2 security. I phoned the security company. I was like, listen here, guys. I know I'm irritating,
9-year-old.
but when shit hits the fan,
Yeah.
you want me on your side.
Yeah.
Regardless of what you think of me, what I say,
Yeah.
whatever. When shit hits the fan,
Yes.
I'm the guy that you want in your corner.
Yeah.
And we need people like me.
Yeah.
But maybe we need those dumb fucks as well
Yeah.
to make life
It
interesting.
does.
For me to
For
complain
a little bit
about.
more spices. To learn tolerance and patience and kindness.
We need people as young as your boyfriend
Mm.
to give us.
Give us a different perspective and soften us a little bit. Oh, he's going to kill me. He's a very private person.
Is it?
Yes.
So what's his
extremely.
name and his
No,
Instagram
good Lord,
handle
no.
and his telephone number?
No, nothing of
At
that.
this point, I'll let the picture come up on
Come
the
up
video.
and show people what he looks like. No. Shame. I just won't send him the link. He won't know. But he knows I'm doing the podcast. Just,
Is it?
I'll just tell him sorry
That
ahead
is
of time.
So funny.
Crap.
Listen, I think we cut it off there. It's
Sure.
It's 7:30. It's 2 hours. I really
Cool.
enjoyed that.
Me too. This
Thank
was
you.
a lot of fun. Thank
No,
you.
very cool.
I enjoyed it.
I think we
Great.
take a quick walk on the park with my cats.
Yes.
And check
I
the
like
bunnies
your
out.
Cats. I like bunnies too. Cats more.
We're gonna go do it.
Awesome.
Sweet.
Thank you.